speaking of grievances, I want a mug that has freaking Whit and Fitz. I'm tired of this Fitz and Whit already. Anyways,
no.
I'm mad now.
You're on a real roll right now.
I'm in a bad mood. I'm angry Santa.
All right, let me change the subject because it's Fitz and Whit. I mean, I don't know how we determine that, but it just has
move on for grievances.
Great ring to it. Welcome to Fitz and Whit, the show who insists that you have both a holly and a jolly Christmas. We're brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating or review wherever you get your podcast. Whether we are on your personal naughty or nice list, either way, we are interested, unless you're a Chargers fan.
They love you, Fitz.
Coming up on the show, we break down the most impressive moment of Michael Penix's debut.
And I'll reveal which QB is the best at playing Santa and which one is the worst.
I can't wait for that. And we will both be airing some grievances in honor of Festivus. Fitz and Whit's playoff adventure. Look, we're going to talk playoffs here. We're going to try to make these scenarios a little less complicated than they are. Let's try to simplify, and let's start with the AFC, Whit. This AFC wildcard race, we got to see Denver and the Chargers up close and personal last week, and it complicated things a little bit. The Chargers, essentially, they've got to win a game. Whether it's New England or Vegas, they got to win a game. Denver, on the other hand, I'm nervous, man. Their last two games at Cincy and then Kansas City, which if Kansas City wins this week, maybe that one's not as difficult to win, but Denver all of a sudden finds themselves in a predicament to get in for this wild card.
They do, and I think that there's a lot of teams across the AFC that are rooting for the Denver Broncos right now because my belief is that if they let the Cincinnati Bengals have a chance to get in these playoffs, I mean, Joe Burrow's insane. This Bengals offense has been on fire. And I got faith in Lou Anarumo figuring it out. You know, he's somebody who's always been able to figure out pressures and disguises and all that.
Lou, baby.
In the playoffs, they've shown the ability to go make a run before when they got in the playoffs like this. So I would say there's probably a lot of AFC teams out there rooting for the Denver Broncos to get it done so the Cincinnati Bengals don't make it in the playoffs.
Did you see 7 games in a row, Joe Burrow, 250 plus, 3+ touchdowns, never been done before in the history of football. That's the kind of heater he's on right now.
He's on a pretty good heater. I think that happens when you buy the Batmobile.
And then the other two teams, Miami and Indy, who are kind of the forgotten ones in this thing, they both still have a chance. You know, the interesting thing with Miami, they're sitting at 7-8 right now. They're going to need a little bit of help. But the two things that have been their Achilles heel all season, one is playing good teams. They really can't beat teams with winning records, and that happened last year, and again, it's happened this year. And then the second thing is playing in the cold.
Don't say it. Cold weather?
It's been an issue. It's nice down there in South Florida this time of year. But, their last two games, they're not playing great teams. They're playing Cleveland and the Jets, but they are playing them both at their home places. So they're going to have to win in the cold in these last two games, which they just haven't shown they will be able to do. And then there's Indy, 7-8 as well. They had the easiest schedule, we thought, with Tennessee last week. They're at the Giants, and they have Jacksonville. The best version of Indy is the one where A-Rich
that was the one they ran this week. Just, hey, forget it. You know what? We're a running football team. Let's just go triple option. We're Georgia Tech from a few years back, and we're going to get after it with the quarterback in the running game. Absolutely insane. Jonathan Taylor goes bonkers. Anthony Richardson's just, that is a big human. He looks like a defensive end running the football. That is a big dude.
Dude, he's unbelievable. But with that, 11 passes and they score 38 points, which – when Jonathan Taylor holds on to the football, sorry, Jonathan, I know that it was a mistake. It'll never happen again, but that was a really impressive performance by him and the Colts offense moving the line of scrimmage. That one's going to be interesting. Then we're over to the NFC.
Oh, man.
We were all excited about Tampa getting in the playoffs. We're all excited about the noise they were going to be able to make. Todd Bowles, the defense, Baker, this offense. They beat Detroit. They beat Philly. But all of a sudden, they don't control their own destiny. Atlanta benches Kirk Cousins, and Atlanta is now in control of the NFC South.
It is wild. I mean, I think of this game against the Cowboys. Like, is there anyone that didn't think on that play when Baker was able to extend the play and get the ball out of his hands
So
and shot right?
sick.
I'm like, oh, they're winning this game. It's over. Yeah. I actually missed the fumble. I thought, what's going on? Like, I thought, it was just a tackle and he was down. And I saw the Cowboys guys running with the ball, but I didn't even realize that he had stripped it off of him. I had complete confidence that Baker Mayfield was scoring on that possession. But yeah, it is wild because you think of Baker in this Tampa team as a team they've beat the Detroit Lions. They've beat the Eagles. I mean, they're a team that you would think they get in the playoffs that, you really are fearful of. But I put Atlanta Falcons kind of back in that category of like the Broncos. Man, we think they're pretty good. Maybe they could win a game, but I don't see them really making it much further than the first round of the playoffs, just with really some of the struggles. But now you enter Michael Penix, and this is a whole new story, Fitz.
Yeah, I mean, a good way to make a rookie quarterback making his first appearance feel comfortable?
Score on defense?
Score not just once, but twice. Score twice on defense. But I'll tell you what, the things that we talked about with Penix coming into the lineup, the very first play, they line up in pistol, they go play action. Now it ends up being incomplete, but they run a big post down the middle of the field, and they've got to come back on the left side. He throws a laser to Ray McLeod, gets batted down. But I think those are the type of things. That was kind of a statement play of like, this is what we now are and what we can do. And then for me, the first third down of the game, you're nervous. He's thrown into this situation. There's a lot of pressure on him. They're still playing to be a team that can make the playoffs. 3rd and 7, he makes a great read and a great throw to Drake London over the middle. He goes for 19 yards. That told me a lot about Michael Penix Jr. and who he's going to be. But it was a different looking Atlanta offense, and I think it was the right move. It's so hard to watch Kirk Cousins on the sideline, standing there dressed out, not in the game. But I think this was the right move for these guys. And, the big thing now is they're playing Washington this week. Can they go to Washington and get a win? That's going to be, can they make the playoffs or not? I'll probably ride on this next game.
Yeah, I'm looking at how Jaden Daniels played this weekend. I don't know how good you feel about that either. So, I don't. Tampa Bay might be back in this thing quickly, but I think you look at Tampa. I mean, you lose to Dallas after 4 straight wins, and then you finish Carolina, New Orleans at home. Their problem is they have to finish with a better record than the Falcons because Atlanta beat them both times. They hold the head-to-head tiebreaker. One of them was our Thursday night football game where Kirk Cousins throws for 500 yards, which is crazy to think. Here we are now talking about the excitement we have for this Michael Penix-led Falcons offense. But I think you can clearly see in this tape, as we always say, the tape doesn't lie. It's not just about how the quarterback plays. You could see an elevation, in my opinion, of just the team and their energy and a little bit of like hope that, hey, we can do something different. And not only that, we talked about this a little bit last week. Zach Robinson now gets to unlock that entire playbook of really what we think of when we think of Sean McVay influenced offenses, Kyle Shanahan's of the world, that Shanahan schemes where we're half rolling out with the quarterback, really making the defense have to defend horizontally and vertically the entire field. And it really goes great with Bijan Robinson and the way he's been able to run the football. I think it'd be interesting to see what's week 2 look like in this offense now that, you believe in him, but that's practice tape. Now you get him out on a real field. You see him do some of these things. He was quick. He was decisive in decision-making. I'd like to see how this offense unlocks next week. And it also puts teams at a little bit of a problem because they don't know exactly who the Falcons are now.
They don't have a lot of film.
You're right? So you don't know what you might get. And so I like that scenario for Atlanta, but this is a big game. They got to win it because, you look at that for Tampa, that's an easy finish, Carolina, New Orleans, that they should be able to get done. Now, having said that,
No,
Carolina's better.
Yes.
They are better.
So you can talk all you want about the playoff. Yeah, I never made the playoffs. You did. I'm going to defer to you on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I was Carolina for a lot of my career. Okay. They started off horrible. Bryce Young gets benched. Andy Dalton comes in. But the job that they've done from being 1-7 to now, they've 3 wins and 4 losses in their last 7 games. But it's like, if you look at the games that they've lost, 1-score losses to KC, Tampa, and Philly. And then they just beat Arizona, who essentially that was a playoff game for Arizona, knocked them out of playoff contention. So Carolina was a pushover, is no longer a pushover, and they could have a real say. This was a fun thing for me. At the end of the year, you don't have much to play for, But look, you do, because you can go and ruin Atlanta's season. You can go and ruin Tampa's season. Those are things that are great feelings for a team that has really struggled, but they're building. They've really built this year. Bryce Young has put together a solid second half of the season, and Coach Canales has that team headed in the right direction, which goes a long way. But I'll be quiet, because now we have to talk about things like the 1 seed in the NFC and even just the NFC West. Those are two things I think that are going to be really interesting these last few weeks. It just seems like that 1 seed is going to come down to week 18, Minnesota at Detroit.
It does. I mean, I talked about this last week on our Thursday night game, is that did anyone over the last 6 weeks talk about Minnesota Vikings being the 1 seed of the conference? I mean, no one said it. And here we are. It's like they're the quietest 13-win team at this point in the season I've ever heard of. I mean, they have done nothing but continue to win games. I think their last loss was when we had them on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. Yeah. So he's been on an absolute roll. And you think about really where they're at in the season. It's like, man, sometimes you say, all right, I think teams talk about, man, can you get week 18 to be a little bit of a bye and already be in the playoffs and take a break? But we've seen that hasn't been really good for teams going into the first week of the playoffs. They've actually not played well sometimes when they rest their guys. I did it. I know I experienced it in 2017. We sat out week 18, to the last week of the season against the Niners. And then we played our worst game of the year, the first round of the playoffs against the Falcons. So I've experienced that some, and teams think about that break. But then sometimes do you think, hey, you know what? We'd rather just play all good games, big games, lots of energy, be at our best. You think of this Vikings team, they have the Packers, and then they got a chance, if they can get that done, to go to Detroit against a beat-up defense.
Insane.
Beat them in Detroit and get a bye week and be the 1 seed in the playoffs, where you only got to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl.
The Fighting Sam Darnolds, baby. I mean, some people, some analysts had him on Pumpkin Watch earlier in the season.
That? Pumpkin
super
watches?
Early in the season. And you know what Sam has done? He's just stepped up time and time again, just like everybody expected. Throws the game-winning hole shot versus Seattle.
That was a sick play. And got rolled up, a little banged up. You're like thinking whether he might come out the game, and then great pocket movement there, gets up in there and throws a freaking dime. But I will say this, you did put him on Pumpkin Watch. But going back to that Carolina conversation, I do have to give you some flowers on that. One of your big things about young quarterbacks that you've always said is that sometimes when they're struggling, if you would just take them out, let them watch a veteran have some success, and watch the offense just grow some confidence because they know there's going to be some consistency at the position. Don't think Carolina's not in this position because Andy Dalton came in, provided a spark there, and then all of a sudden Bryce Young gets to walk into an offense that's playing confidently. So you might have gone Pumpkin Watch a little early, but Sam Darnold got you on that one, but you were right about Bryce Young and where he's in.
Yeah. Well, I do know a thing or two, but I'm certainly, wrong plenty too. But you're going to have to explain this to me, because we were having this discussion about the NFC West, and it was my understanding, we have the Seattle-Chicago game this weekend. The Rams are playing the Cardinals. So it was my understanding that unless Seattle loses and the Rams win, that this week 18 showdown of Seattle and the Rams is going to be for all the marbles. That's what's really going to matter. But you're telling me it looks a little bleak for the Seahawks now.
It is. It's going to be more challenging because there is a scenario where the Rams win this weekend. I think they're playing Saturday night against the Cardinals. And then also if the Seahawks beat the Bears, where the Rams could still win the division without even having to beat Seattle week 18. And the reason is when you get down to these tiebreakers, and I know, Fitz, you've not had a lot of experience and have to worry about playoff tiebreakers.
Hold on. I did in 2015 lose a tiebreaker. We were 10-6. Yeah, 10-6 and didn't make the playoffs. It happened to me twice in my career.
I do feel bad for you.
We lost a tiebreaker to the Steelers. But yes, go ahead.
Okay, you one time. Anyways, so if the Rams win and the Seattle Seahawks win, there's some scenarios there. Like, so for instance, when you start talking about these tiebreakers, you go first head to head, obviously in a division matchup. And then you're going to go, with record within the division. Then you're going to get into common games, et cetera, et cetera. And you eventually get down to conference record, then strength of victory. So the Rams Seahawks would
The
actually
old SOV. Okay.
they would go all the way to strength of victory if the Rams and Seahawks win this week. Next week they play each other. They would go all the way down to strength of victory if the Seahawks happen to win and they both finish with the same record. And it would be that the Rams right now currently hold the lead in strength of victory. So you think of the Rams have wins over the Vikings. They have wins over the Buffalo Bills. So unless those teams fall off, then, and lose maybe the last 2 weeks, then the strength of victory will go to the Rams. And so they could technically this weekend have it sealed by Saturday or probably Sunday when those games are over. I think they need it's a bunch of scenarios, but really they need Buffalo to win. They need, Cincinnati to probably beat Denver because that's one of the wins Seattle had, and then Washington beating Atlanta. So there's a couple scenarios there. There's other games too that could matter, but basically any teams that they've each beat wins, and it could decide it. And so I think for this one, the Rams have a chance to win it in week 17, which is crazy with a 1-4 start, losing half their starters on offense for the first half of the season. Pretty crazy to think they might wrap up the division in week 17.
Yeah, that's absurd. And this is, it's the same old story for the Rams, right? We've seen it before, but I got to imagine that's another team. You were talking about Cincinnati. The Rams are another team I don't know that anybody really wants to play. And one of the things about the Rams that's most impressive to me, their ability to control the clock, these long drives. We saw it this last week with New England and Buffalo, where you're kind of annoyed because Buffalo doesn't have the ball at all in the first quarter.
Yep.
And it's like, what's the best defense against a great offense? Well, the best defense is to not give them the ball, which I think the Rams have a unique ability to do that with Kyron Williams, with the ball control, with the passing to Puka and Cooper, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford. When you watch them, they're one of those teams that goes on those, 6, 7, 8, 9-minute drives. And that can really, really throw a wrench into this NFL playoff season in the NFC.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think that they're going to be a tough out if they can get in just because of that alone. They're built for that kind of style of football. And another, pretty crazy for them is that, obviously the Jets haven't been a great team, but it's a setup game. Anytime you're going West Coast to East Coast playing in a cold weather game,
it's a setup.
That is a setup game, and you got 2 big games against the Cardinals and Seahawks. So to get out of there with a win and do it the way they did it is playing physical, just ball control offense was impressive to see. But speaking of these playoff scenarios, Fitz, let's talk about Mahomes and the Chiefs. They can clinch the 1 seed with a win over the Steelers on Christmas Day. It's their 3rd game in 11 days. And Mahomes has got a high ankle sprain. I don't know that I saw the high ankle sprain based off the game on Saturday. But, hey, watching these QBs deal with injuries, we talked about the Sam Darnold play. Looks like he might come out of the game. All of a sudden, he makes a freaking crazy throw to win a game for the Vikings. And then, obviously, Mahomes playing through this ankle. It's the 2nd time he's done it. And both times, maybe that's what they need. Both times he gets hurt with an ankle, all of a sudden, they come alive on offense.
They start clicking, baby. They start clicking. Well, I think that sometimes that happens. Sometimes and I don't know about the lower extremity injuries, but sometimes you'll have some sort of injury that just makes you really hyper-focused and ready to go. Josh Allen, now there are reports at the beginning of the year, he's been wearing that glove on his left hand. There are reports now that he broke his left hand. He's been playing with a broken left hand, which I assume at this point is probably healed up. Of course, the Chargers game and kind of watching all their film and some of the things that Justin Herbert's been good at and not good at this year. He's had some ankle issues. But as a quarterback and as an offensive lineman too, those are pretty much the 2 positions, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where your availability is so important to the team. You're not allowed to be hurt. You're not allowed to take time off. And for me and you both, I didn't miss a ton of games. One of the things I was most prideful on was actually in my 17-year career had to come out 3 times during a football game. The first time was when I broke my tibia in half. Wasn't able to walk that one off. Second time, I tore my UCL in my thumb. And the third time was my hip injury with Washington that ended my career. But, being available, being a guy that people can count on to be out there is so important. That surgery on my thumb that I had, it was during the season, and I ended up playing in the next game. I just had to put the carbon fiber cast on it and going out there, and it really for me, even though it was, an injury that was a little bit debilitating, I was so hyper focused on doing things the right way and making sure I was playing smart. It actually led to me having, a good 6 or 7 game run there where I had to wear this cast on my left hand, to where it really kind of helped me. It helped my numbers. It helped the team. But I got to imagine with you, like, there has to be some points that I don't know if it's MCLs or, whatever it was that you had, shoulders, wrist, elbows, that you had to deal with, where you're just out there grinding, making sure that you're available for your football team.
Yeah, there's definitely some, crazy, getting rolled up from maybe a rusher coming from the other side, or guys you don't see coming as an offensive lineman. That's the tough part of our position. You're really one of the only athletes in the entire world that plays with your back to the ball at all times. And so you don't know a lot of times when things are coming, and I can remember in my career multiple instances there, getting rolled up, having, MCLs, ankle injuries. Probably the one that sticks out the most to me, 2012-13, it actually is what I've always said led to me playing until 40, as I had just a micro tear kind of tendonitis situation happening in my patella tendon on my left side, and really lost all of my quad on that leg, and decided to kind of play through that year. And the next year had surgery, and it didn't go great. I missed all of training camp. I missed week 1 of the season, and was pretty devastated. And it's wild how dark we can get in those moments, when you're unavailable to your team and when you're away from the guys, and, things, it's tough. I mean, we forget this is what we've been wound to do our whole life. And you feel like you're always out there. And that was one of those things I took so much pride in. And it's actually something that I would always, I was always mad at other linemen across the league that would, it's like, man, you missed a game or two, and why, and for what, and how would you possibly do this? And it's like, all of a sudden you're in that situation and you're like, man, you're crushed. And so I can remember that. And then the next year really, being in some games that maybe I shouldn't have been out there. Maybe I should have, but, I learned a lot from those over the years. And one of them especially was that, in those situations, that patience and having a little bit of like, who am I off the football field? I mean, learning to be a better husband. I had little kids at that time, a better dad. Like, what are your priorities? I mean, I always tell Melissa all the time, like, I am very thankful for you, because I was not fun to be around. And I don't think I was probably fun to be married to during those times, because I was pretty yeah. I would say, I was an asshole. Let's put it the best way we can put it.
Well, and that's what we always try to have, that separation, right? Yep. I always try to spend as much time as I needed to at work, if we're going to call it that. And then I would leave my playbook behind. I would leave all those things behind and come home and just try to be, father and husband. But especially with an injury, when you feel like you're letting people down and your body's letting you down, it's hard to have that separation of work life and home life. And it can be a big struggle for guys. There's 2 stories I remember that really hurt the team to be out there. And one was me in 2011. And this goes to, like, you don't want to let people down. I had just signed my contract with the Bills. And this was my, 5-year, $58 million or whatever it was. Actually, I know exactly how much it was.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't lie to us. You know every cent of that contract. Can't let the boys down, though, baby.
Can't let them down. And so the very first game that I played in after that contract, it was obviously really important to win every game. But, like, I wanted to show out in that game to say, look, like, thank you for paying me, and I'm going to do everything I can to repay you. And so we were playing in Toronto. We're playing the Redskins. We ended up winning the game. We were 5-2 at that point. But during that game, London Fletcher annihilated me. Absolutely annihilated. Right before the end of the first half, I fractured 5 or 6 ribs. And thank God I threw a pass to Fred Jackson. It was the 2-minute warning after the pass, because I couldn't breathe. I was down on all fours, like doing that deal. And so I didn't have to come out of the game because it was the 2-minute warning.
And all the guys are like, you got it, buddy. You got it.
Yeah, you got it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But, I was never a big Toradol guy, but for the rest of the season, I had to be shot up. Those next 3 weeks, I was out there, but was in a significant amount of pain, waking up in the morning with broken ribs, coughing with broken ribs, doing anything on a football field with that many fractured ribs. It was a detriment to the team. And looking back on it, I wish I would have said, look, I can't go, but the pride that you have as a player and being available, the pride that you have and not wanting to let people down, that it certainly hurt the team, and that was a good lesson for me. The craziest one that I saw, though, Ryan Mallett, rest in peace, Ryan. We were on Houston together. He had never started an NFL game. I get benched, so Ryan's going to be the starter. He plays his first game, doesn't play great, but he still has a starting role. And on Friday that week, he tears his pec in the weight room.
And plays?
And he didn't want to tell anybody. He told him, I heard it, whatever, but didn't tell anybody. And
that's absurd.
Dude, we are out there in warm-ups on Sunday, and he is two hopping balls to guys running slant routes and in cuts, and like he can't throw in warm-ups. And I'm like, are you okay, dude? He's like, I tore my pec on Friday. I'm like, what? Oh. So he plays the whole game. He goes like, I think he was 21 for 40 something, less than 200 yards, a pick, just like awful. But for him, like he only had 8 starts in his whole career, and that was his second start. There was no way that he was not going to be out there, but that was an instance where it was not good for the team. And as a quarterback, I think that gets accentuated. But I mean, the injury stuff, it's difficult. And I would just say, like, the thing that's changed, though, I don't know. I mean, allowing guys to play with injuries that you're playing with, when you see a guy going through it, a lot of time, if it's a pain thing, like there's nothing I could do or say to you that's going to make you change your mind. I mean, but the thing that we've seen, I feel like since we both started in the league, 05, 06, is with these head injuries and kind of either self-reporting or reporting guys that you're playing with that look a little off or dazed and confused. I think there's been a huge culture shift in the NFL with that.
Massive. I think it's a huge difference. I mean, I know just for me dealing with that stuff is, obviously head injury or not, I mean, throughout your career, you learn some of those things. Like you talked about, hey, injure my thumb, I can play through it. It actually helps me. And then there's times where it's like, all right, I'm hurting the team that I'm out there. I know for me, that experience with my knee in 12 and 13 was, you know what, I can still play through this. And I think it's something I need to get through because it's a tendonitis type thing that if I want to keep playing in the league, I've got to learn how to play through this issue, even though I'm so weak in my leg, and just keep staying with the rehab process. That's something you can actually like work to fix and overcome and to get used to. And then later in my career, in our season that we ended up winning the Super Bowl, I had a very similar issue pop back up in my left knee in that same patella, got an injection in it, decided, hey, I don't want to play this week because I was able to make that decision. Joseph Noteboom, who was on our team, was a young, healthy tackle. He had played well in the limited reps. He had gotten chances to play. And it was like, hey, this is what's best for the team right now. We're on a good run. He's a great pass protecting tackle. He can handle this great. I'm going to miss this one game and I'll be back. And he was able to play against Houston Texans, played great. We won the game. And I was able to, give myself those 2 weeks to really overcome the shot because I didn't want anything crazy to happen to my patella. But I had learned from that instance. And early in my career, I would have never done that in my life. I would have never told a soul. I would have never allowed it to happen. Like I would have just went out there and played because you're just so stubborn to, I want to be with the guys and I want to be out there doing my job and never letting anybody down. But you're right. When you talk about this head stuff, I think of early in my career. I mean, I can remember being in training camp with the Cincinnati Bengals and Ben Utek getting knocked out on a snap in camp, and he's out cold on the ground. There's actually a picture of me and my hands on his leg. I'm praying for him. And they brought an ambulance out on the field and take him off. And like, we just like move the drill up 10 yards and keep rolling. Like, it's like, you know what? Another one's down. Just move the drill up, you move the drill up. And then, throughout my career, like had concussions where I had to miss a game. I got taken out of a game in Philadelphia where one of my teammates reported it, and I was like, I always say, Clint Bowling reported it. And I'm like, man, I'm appreciative of him doing that. And I know my wife is because she saw the play, saw me get up stumbling from the pile. And I was kind of falling all over the place, but there had been a bit of a skirmish that was happening. And so the refs and everybody went to that. And nobody really saw me stumbling off by myself, trying to get my bearings together. And we get off on the sideline, and Clint Bowling was like, man, something's not right with you, dude. I got to tell somebody. And he told somebody, and they took me out of the game. And I'm always very thankful of that because times have really changed now. I think guys respect a lot more that situation.
Well, and the rules that have been put in too to protect the player from himself. I mean, I don't know if you were watching or saw when Jalen Hurts went down. Yeah. I'm sitting there with my boys and my brother, and we're watching the game. And I said, they got to take him out. They got to call down because something's not right. He was woozy, he was wobbly, he got up. And I think it's important. We've had some incidents over the years. I think Tom Savage was a big one. There are some other guys where they didn't get pulled out of the game, and there was people are hypercritical of those type moments, but they got it right. I mean, they saw it, they spotted it. So for everybody that doesn't know, there's an unaffiliated neurological consultant that doesn't know anybody on either team that's a spotter, and he's watching the game and is just watching the game for those instances. He sees Jalen Hurts. He calls down and says, we got to get Jalen out of the game. You got to bring him to the blue tent, and you have to get him checked out before he can go back in. So in this case, it was a huge win. They pulled Jalen out of the game. Jalen would have kept playing. He wanted to keep playing, but there was obviously something wrong. And with what, we don't know everything or not perfect about our knowledge on concussions, but what we do know is to have a second type hit or second type of trauma is very, very bad for the brain. And so he gets pulled out. And there was even a moment where he wanted to come back in the game, but I think they brought him back to the locker room after that. And they got it right. I think it's important to point out when they get things right. There's two stories I have. First one, 2019, I'm playing for the Dolphins. It's in the fourth quarter. We're playing at Indy, and it's an important game, and we're winning the game, important part of the game, fourth quarter. And we had a third down play. I make a throw, incomplete. We run off the field. So then they had their drive. We're still in the lead. They end up punting the ball, or maybe we got an interception. And I go to jog back on the field. And the ref stops me and he says, hey, you got to go in the blue tent and get evaluated. And I just remember being so furious because, first of all, nothing happened. I didn't think I gave any sort of posture or visual to show that I was hurt, but it also 5 minutes of game time had passed to where they could have put me in the blue tent when my defense was on the field and they didn't. So it was frustrating for me, but I also knew that it was important in the media to say, look, I get it though. I get what we're trying to do and I get the intent of this. We're trying to make the game safer. We're trying to protect players from themselves. So I ended up, I think I missed one series and then I got evaluated. They said he is good to go and I went back in. But the funniest story, and I think something that will never happen again in the history of the NFL, and maybe I'll be wrong on this one, but I know it hasn't happened yet except for this one instance. I'm at dinner with one of my college buddies in Pittsburgh, and he says, hey, by the way, I'm the UNC, the unaffiliated neurological consultant for the game tomorrow. And I was like, what? But you are affiliated with me. You're my friend. Like, what do you? And I knew the guy. He's a neurosurgeon. And luckily there wasn't any gray area to where I was stumbling or bumbling during that game. But the unaffiliated neuroconsultant was one of my best friends. So I'm not sure that'll ever happen again in the history of the NFL. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how many neurosurgeons are your buddies coming from LSU, but I
don't know if we have a lot of neurosurgeons, but not my buddies at least. There's probably some from LSU that just aren't mine. But yeah, no, that's a pretty crazy story, Fitz. I don't have any neurosurgeons. I do have a referee though. I do have an NFL referee.
I know you do. Every time we see him, that was your high school teammate, right?
Yeah, high school quarterback.
He gets so excited.
Yeah. And he makes fun of the fact that I was a tight end at that time and he would throw me passes I could never score because I was never fast enough. So
he told him I scored in the NFL, not a big deal.
Hey, no biggie. But yeah, to your point, Fitz, I think what's really cool about it is important to point out when they get it right. But I also think that you think even 10 years ago, probably maybe a little more, when really the NFL, it felt like, you start to see all these things come about of these head injuries and people, hey, we're going to take the helmet out of the game and the use of the helmet and those kind of things. I think it is cool to see that there has been some change. And I know we all fought it along the way. We disagreed with a lot of it. But I think there has been a uniform just culture change and guys respecting that part of the body, and that is something we do have to get out of the game to make the game safer. I know for me, coaching my two young sons in football, even as a coach on their youth teams, it's important to me to make sure that we're taking that part out of the game, and I'm teaching them how to not make so much contact with their heads. And, obviously you're going to use it at times, but and there's certain things you have to, but just really, hey, man, this is why. And I also know the signs. Like there's certain kids that get caught with a hit. And I'm like, man, you know what? This kid's done for the day. Like we don't have any neurosurgeons here that are pulling anybody out of a game. So it's responsible to parents and dads and stuff to recognize
it is.
There's certain things these kids don't need to play through. And I think that's one of those. It's not my pinky. It's not my knee. It's not my ankle. This isn't a toughness decision. This is something that's about my future and health and safety. And I, as a leader of a team, I've always taught guys in my locker room, you're a man before you're anything else. So when it comes to those things that aren't having to do with a football player, those are more important. And so it's really cool to see that now that's an emphasis.
I had a pretty cute moment watching the games on Sunday. My 5-year-old Jake, as you know, is obsessed with football.
That he is.
I sent you his Christmas list. All he wants is a
Uncle
football.
Whit's got a couple of them.
Oh, I know. I had to tell Santa that he's got some stuff coming from Uncle Whit, but everything on there starts with football, and then football jersey, football cleats, football tackling dummies, whatever it is. But we're watching the Houston game, and he's, "Hey, Dad, I didn't know that football players can cry." We're watching C.J. Stroud after that injury with Tank Dell and how horrific it was, and how affected C.J. was by it. And he literally, there were tears streaming down his face. But this is, this to be like a down episode of the podcast in terms of talking about all this sad stuff and injuries, but it's such a part of the game. And I think peeling back the curtain a little bit, of people, sometimes we live in a world where it's all fantasy football driven, and you're wondering, why stats are down and why guys aren't playing as well one week compared to the next. And a lot of this stuff isn't stuff that's put out there in the media. You're trying to, hide injuries a little bit, not just hide, but sometimes, limit what's being talked about and what's not, limit the excuses and the different storylines. And as players, we take a lot of pride in that. And so there are times, when you've got stuff that your teammates are going through, it's heartbreaking to see. And the outside world doesn't know that. And I know you had an incident, you're so proud of Higbee and him being able to come back, but a short story to share about him.
Yeah, man. I thought an awesome moment this weekend, Rams-Jets, Tyler Higbee getting a chance to score a touchdown in that game. But it made me think back after the C.J. Stroud thing with Tank Dell and how devastated, just what a dude C.J. Stroud is. And you can tell that a relationship, I think people forget through the fantasy, through their, rooting for their team, playoffs and what you want out of everybody. We see all these people so upset about wanting this out of this coach or this player. Man, these dudes are human beings first and foremost. And you know what? We've developed some really, really special relationships in these football teams. And when people ask me, do you miss football? I don't miss playing football in the sense of hitting people and getting hit and all that mess. What I do miss is that locker room and those relationships and those bonds of watching guys grow through stuff that people don't understand what it took for them to get to that game on Sunday. The injections, the rehab, the all the things that the doctor's appointments, the tape jobs that, hey man, we're trying to figure out a way to brace your leg or brace your arm. And you're going to have to play through this kind of pain. You're going to have to adjust your game this week to make it through the game for this. And it's like, hey, yeah, you can talk about the money they get paid. You can talk about all that. None of that matters when you're showing up on Sunday, and it's a matter of overcoming pain, adjusting yourself to be able to go out there and play for your football team. And so for me, when I look back in 2021, when we made our run to the Super Bowl, I'll never forget something that always stuck out in my mind. And when I saw C.J. Stroud get emotional, it's the first thing that came to it is that Tyler Higbee tears his MCL on our run to the Super Bowl. And they decide that, with MCLs, when you have time, you can let them grow back. But the fastest way possibly is to go in there and do a surgery and, secure his MCL back and maybe hopefully he has a chance to play in the Super Bowl. And I'll never forget, you're on this Super Bowl run. You're obviously all trying to overcome things, right? And so you're walking through a locker room, you're tired. When you've played 20 games, you're exhausted as a football team. And I'll never forget walking through our training room, and everybody has the treadmills or the Alter Gs where guys do their rehab, and it's an anti-gravity treadmill that kind of takes the pressure off your body. And they got Tyler Higbee up, and they're like, man, the only way we can do this if you really want to try to play in the Super Bowl is we got to get this leg to move. And this dude, fresh off of surgery, is trying to figure out how to walk or run in this Alter G. And he's got tears in his eyes, and he's frustrated, and he's emotional. And all he wants to do, man, that ain't for him. He does not want to let his guys go into battle without him being there. And the emotion I got in that moment, I'm 40 years old. I've played, 15,000 snaps. I've played in a lot of football games. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm like, man, we got a couple more. We can win the Super Bowl. And I thought to myself, man, stop feeling sorry for yourself. This dude would give anything to be out there in that field. So when we got to Super Bowl Sunday, I'm sitting in the locker room. I look across the training room at him, and he's sitting over there. Obviously, he wasn't able to make it back, which would have been an insane feat to come back that quick. And I thought to myself, man, I want Higgs to feel like he's with me. And we had also lost Robert Woods that season to a torn ACL right as we signed Odell Beckham. And so I wrote Robert Woods and Higbee's names on the front of my undershirt and my jersey. And sure enough, we win the freaking game. And I'll never forget hugging both of them and pulling up my jersey and showing them, hey, dude, you were riding with me today. It makes me emotional to think about now because It's like, man, like those are the moments. Like when people say, what are you going to remember about your career? Honest to God, I'm not going to remember shit about the Super Bowl. I'm not going to remember a damn thing about playoff. I joke with you about going to the playoffs. I'm not going to remember any of that shit. I will remember freaking Tyler Higbee busting his ass, trying to figure out a way to go to war with his dudes. I will remember Robert Woods laying it on the line all the freaking time, bawling in tears when he found out he had torn his ACL, on a run where we thought we were going to go to the Super Bowl. I will remember Matthew Stafford being an absolute dog the whole rest of the playoffs through all the stuff he had to play through when he'd get nicked up and banged up and never say a freaking word. Like those are the things you'll remember about your teammates. I remember Eric Weddle shredding his pec in the first quarter of the game and finishing the freaking game and winning the Super Bowl and being a Super Bowl champion. Like those moments of the guy with the guys, the things they've overcome, that's what you'll remember. And that's what'll stick out to me is those kind of moments in the NFL.
And that's what, just the reaction when he scored on
awesome.
Sunday. But that's what, I didn't know that whole backstory of what you just told and how amazing it is, but it's like, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. And so for people that don't understand, he tore his ACL this year. He tore his ACL in their playoff game in Detroit, makes it all the way back. A lot of guys, when you tear up his ACL that late, don't play the next year.
Yeah, that's a year.
For him to come back, first game back, he gets a touchdown against the Jets on the road. Stafford goes crazy. And then you see after the game, Sean shares, like they had to hold the freaking team back on the sideline because they all wanted to go celebrate with him college football style. That just shows you those locker rooms and those emotions and just how tight you get with guys. Tyler Higbee, as I said, is their emotional leader. He is the guy that team rallies around because he does all the dirty work. And he's one of the coolest personalities. Tight ends. They're just swaggy. They're the cool personalities of the team. And Tyler Higbee's been doing the dirty work for a long time, man. I couldn't be happier for him. I shared some texts with him last night. He was like, man, I don't know if I can explain what a special moment that is for me. It was a long, long, dark road this season trying to get back.
Yeah. And that raw emotion and what we saw in the Houston game, the raw emotion of some of those players, knowing that was a serious injury for Tank Dell, it's that gives you a little glimpse as to why, not just because of how bad the injury was, not just because he's not going to be able to be a part of the team for the playoff run and everything else, but it's the road ahead and the recovery and everything he's going to have to go. And everybody in the NFL knows how difficult that road is. When you, like you said, you build up bonds and friendships, and it's just hard to see your brother have to go through that, and that was a very humanizing moment for CJ Stroud.
I call it, Fitz. It's called, I call it all-time friends and good-time friends, man. Good-time friends are for the wins, man. But all-time friends, we develop those bonds in that locker room because they're built on the dark days, and they're built on watching a dude and who he is in adversity. And the good times buddies, man, every team in the league that wins some games all of a sudden has good culture. But you'll really find out what their culture is and whether they're all-time cultures and when you see the dark days and how they respond to them.
Yeah. And I actually, to that point, we give the Dallas Cowboys a lot of grief for being front runners. But I'll tell you what, for a team that we do give a lot of grief to, they're a great example this year of a team that loses their leader and Dak Prescott. The defense is in shambles, and they have turned it around. and they play so hard. And Micah Parsons said, just watch and see the rest of the season.
I think that's a great one, Fitz. Think of a guy like Micah Parsons. He's been criticized, a little bit over his career, just some of the things he says, the podcast, all this stuff. But you know what? He said a while back, you watch how we finish this year and how we play, and his team did it. And to me, maybe that's a turning point. He's even recently last week said, it's not about being the highest paid defensive player. It's not about all these things. It's about how good of a team we can put together. So to me, there's this mental shift where I feel like Micah Parsons has got it. He just figured it out. It's about the dudes. It's about setting the standard. It's about chasing that thing, and we all do it together as one heartbeat. It's cool to see that happening. And we've said it before, how you finish seasons sometimes leads to what the next season looks like. So watch out the way these guys are starting to finish this year right now. If they continue this to finish it out these next 2 weeks, Dallas Cowboys might be a team to circle next year. Surprise of the year.
All right. You heard it here first.
It's the most wonderful time of year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and pro basketball. Might as well throw pro hockey in there too. Almost 24/7.
So many games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet.
Fitz, I think I'm going to start off. I'm going to go Steelers money line with Najee Harris scoring a touchdown against the Chiefs.
Wow, really?
Let's go,
Steelers.
baby.
Okay, I like that. I finally lost one of my parlays last week, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to parlay Derrick Henry with 2 touchdowns during the game and Nico Collins to also get in the end zone. Should be a juicy pick there for you.
I like that one. Well, here's a gift for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Fitz and Whit. That's code Fitz and Whit for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. When you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Welcome to our new segment called Hot Routes.
Hot route! What is hot route? Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Hot routes.
Hot.
Red 7.
Blue 13. Hot. Hit.
Daytona.
You remember Daytona?
Daytona
was cool.
Daytona.
Before Omaha, before Turbo,
Come on.
before any of those. Daytona. I like that one because it just kind of rolled off the tongue. Anyway, we're going to give you some thoughts on what happened this weekend. But Whit, you screwed this segment up last week. They have to be quick. I know that you love talking. We're going to let you go first, but just spit it out, please.
All right, Myles Garrett got his 100th career sack. He maybe is the most impressive first off the bus guy in the NFL.
I would definitely take him first off the bus. Saquon Barkley. He still has a chance at the rushing record, but more impressive to me, he has 10 runs this year over 20 miles an hour. Just to give you an example of, I had 0 in my career. That's 5 times more than Jahmyr Gibbs this year, 2 times more than Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor.
Or the pumpkin himself, Fitz. Sam Darnold joined Peyton Manning of the 2012 Broncos and Steve McNair of the 2006 Ravens as the only veteran quarterbacks in NFL history to win 13 games in their first season with a new team.
Do you remember Puka Nakua's insane rookie season, Whit? I'm sure you do. 105 catches. Well, 2 rookies this year, not 1, but 2 are on pace to break it. Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors.
The NFL has changed. Lamar Jackson, let's talk about this. I know I don't want to get into MVP talk with you, Fitz, but Lamar Jackson has 120.7 passer rating in 2024, is the 4th highest by any qualified passer in a single season in NFL history. Aaron Rodgers in 2020 and 2011, as well as Peyton Manning in 2004, are the only other quarterbacks to have that high of a rating if it happens for the whole season, and all of them won the NFL MVP in that season.
He's putting together quite a year. He really is.
I'll leave you with that.
Hot route! What is hot route? Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
All right, in honor of Frank Costanza, from my favorite show of all time, Seinfeld, and his favorite holiday of all time, Festivus, which is celebrated on December 23rd, we sat around the dinner table the other day and we did the airing of grievances. I know you don't know Seinfeld. I know you don't know Festivus, but at least you know how to air grievances, Whit. These are just a few of mine. Chargers fans, on Twitter.
That was high on my list.
Insufferable. Oh my God. Just because Justin Herbert is not in my top 5, but he's in my top 8. They are chasing me out of town.
You're such a hater.
I'm a hater.
You could never do what he did, Fitz.
I promise I could never do what he did. He's unbelievable. He is a cyborg. He was created in a lab. But that doesn't mean that I can't give you analysis to say why he has struggled. Some of it has been play calling. Some of it has been talent around him. Some of it has been his injuries. And some of it has been on Justin.
And some of it is you're just a hater.
And some of it is I am just a hater.
That's right. Don't forget about that part. And not only that, here's the worst part. I'm going to air my grievance about it, okay, Chargers fans? I live here in L.A., and, listen, y'all could at least be nice to me for that. But I get tagged on all these freaking Bolt Twitter accounts because of you now.
The Bolts.
Freaking jerk. I mean, I can't even look at my social media account. I'm trying to look at nice things. I want to read positive stuff. And it's like, hey, your bald head and your hoodie sucks and Justin Herbert rules. And I'm like, hey, I didn't even.
And it's just all those lightning bolts right next to their Twitter handles. Lightning bolts.
Lightning bolts.
Let me air some more grievances. All right. Santas that work at the mall with fake beards. I'm done. Like, why are we doing it? There's got to be enough guys that look like you that have white beards that can work as Santa at the mall.
Can we get a real beard?
Holiday season? Get a real beard, please.
Get that.
Okay, this is another one that's been driving me nuts. The Secret Santa gift exchange. It's enough.
It's too much.
It's just enough. When you have 7 kids and they all have to participate in Secret Santa gift exchanges for the soccer team, for school, for their friends, for chorus, it's just enough. It's too much. Too many gifts. I love giving gifts. It's too many.
It is too much. Here's my thing. Now, we're going to get my friend a gift. Oh, but I'm also in a secret exchange with them. I'm like, wait, what? So you're getting them a Christmas gift and you're exchanging gifts with them. Are those separate gifts? Is that the same gift? Can we just give a gift? Can we drop a gift off? What the hell? Does everybody need a secret Santa and a real Santa? Can we just have like actual Santa?
Elephant,
I don't know what's going on.
It's too much. It's just too much, and it adds up.
There's no white Bengal
lots of
gifts,
kids,
though.
as you know. No white Bengals.
No.
All right, Caleb Williams.
Oh boy,
he hasn't had any picks since week 6 in his win against Jacksonville in London. Look, he set an NFL record, rookie record, 325 attempts without an interception, 100 attempts longer than any previous rookie. It's a franchise record. Who gives a rat's ass? Like, they've lost 9 in a row. They've scored over 20 points just once in those 9 games. He's been sacked 60 times. And on average, when he gets sacked, he holds on to the ball for almost 5 seconds.
Get the freaking ball out of your hand.
I'm just saying, like, we've now got caught in this world where at the end of the year, we're going to look at his stats. And for all those Bears fans that have been complaining all year long, they're going to look back at the stats and say, you know what? He didn't have that bad of a year. And it's because he doesn't have any interceptions on the card. Well, guess what? Peyton Manning, 28 picks his rookie year. Peyton Manning in his first 4 seasons, 81 interceptions. And I understand that the game has changed a little bit with how the ball's distributed. And I understand that interceptions are bad. I get it. Trust me, I threw a lot of them, and I know they're bad. But this saving the QB rating at the sake of the offensive line's confidence and taking sacks just to not throw interceptions and being risk averse. Like, it bugs me a little bit, Whit. It just bugs me, and I just had to get it out.
Well, listen, I'm going to air a grievance on that because there's going to be plenty of quarterbacks that play with me that probably would air a grievance that Whit didn't shut the up, asking me to step up in the pocket, get the fucking ball out of my hand.
Whoa. First F-bomb on the podcast for you. I already have one as well. Nice.
But here's my thing. Listen, I had Andy Dalton. I had Jared Goff. When I had young quarterbacks, A.J. McCarron even played the year Andy Dalton broke his thumb. Listen, they need it because here's the thing. You talk about all these things in a meeting. There is 10,000 things going on in a quarterback's head during a game. He's getting the play call. Where's everybody supposed to be?
Going on.
They're lined up. So my thing always in a huddle, man, hey, throughout the week, I'd tell them in our walkthroughs, like, hey, man, I'm going to talk to you a little bit like, hey, where you're at in the pocket. I'm going to give you some feedback. I'm going to tell you, like, hey, certain plays, this is a 3-step. If we're told to cut in this offense or if we're told to jump these guys, I'm going to lose him late and he's going to lose around the edge. So if we have a 3-step and the ball's supposed to be out, you either get out of the pocket or you get the freaking ball out of your hands. Like, you don't stand back there with the football. Like, you make us look like assholes. Because here's the reality. When these plays are over.
Air that grievance, Whit.
Hey, when these plays are freaking over, somebody's getting blamed. And I'm not saying that it matters, but it does in a sense of your offensive line all year long. Caleb Williams is getting trashed for how they're playing. And have they played great? No. But you know what you can do? Hey, man, you guys can trust me. Then we call 3-step, this ball's out. When we call 5-step drop, I'm going to hit my back foot, one hitch, and this ball's getting out of my hand, or I'm going to make a decision and get out of this pocket. Like, that shit matters. I would wear Goff out on a weekly basis. You call him right now. You'd be like, man, that asshole, after every play call, I'm trying to think of how we're lining up, and he's telling me, step up, step up, step up, stay at 8 yards, stay at 8.5, like, get up in the pocket. I'm telling him after every snap, damn it.
I officially know how to push your buttons. That makes me so happy. Buttons.
But
look,
my point to that,
grievances.
My point to that, Fitz, is somebody in Caleb Williams' huddle. They don't have him a veteran offensive lineman. They don't have him a veteran quarterback who's telling him those kind of things because they matter to the guys believing in you and you having success. So that pisses me off, damn it.
I'm so sorry, Whit, but
push my buttons.
This is the spirit of Festivus.
Hey, what'd you get me for Christmas? Because you're a quarterback, so y'all are supposed to do that. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, it's coming. It's in the mail.
Oh,
it's
okay.
in the mail.
Thank
I
you.
still got to order it, but yeah.
It's bullshit.
Now, this last one, I don't want to single Brock Purdy out. I mean, Brock Purdy, in relative terms to other NFL quarterbacks, doesn't make any money, right?
Hey, I don't mean to cut you off, but speaking of grievances, I want a mug that has freaking Whit and Fitz. I'm tired of this Fitz and Whit shit already. Anyways.
No, you're on a real roll right now.
I'm in a bad mood. I'm angry.
Let me change the subject because it's Fitz and Whit. I mean, I don't know how we determine that, but it just has
move on for grievances.
Great ring to it. All right, Brock Purdy. This whole gift thing for the linemen, like I get it, but it's
where's
just
the content cameras?
It's become too much. We're now doing ads for Toyota. Like Brock obviously didn't buy 10 Toyota trucks and Sequoias to give away. Like they gave him, I don't even know, are they on lease for a year? Do they get them? Whatever. But essentially it's just an ad for Toyota. So the spirit of giving has been lost with some of these. I just have an issue with it. I want something personal. I want something to say thank you to the guys, but it doesn't have to be with content cameras and it doesn't have to be branded. Whew, thank you, Whit, for letting me get that off my chest.
Well, listen, hey, we're the guys getting the gift. Here's what these quarterbacks need to understand, okay? I'm going to try to calm down. This is like getting your wife who's been home with the kids all year a gift at Christmas. And the reason I say that is your offensive lineman, we're here to protect you. We're here to, you know what? We don't want you getting hit. It's our job to do, running game, everything, you name it, right? We're out there. We're the guys at the door, okay? Stopping everybody from getting in. Regardless of how they've done, that's the nature of the business. You are the man. You're the king. We're here to serve you as offensive linemen. So when you get us a gift, and it's a content thing for you to really like, we're doing a commercial and you're giving these things.
Don't love it, Brock.
Doesn't make me feel special. I'm not saying it's a bad gift. I get that Brock Purdy's not on a huge deal. I'm not even criticizing Brock Purdy's situation in this. I don't love the content cameras. I don't. Yeah. And I don't love that, you know what? It doesn't make me feel that special. I just want to be made feel special. Okay. I want to feel like you put some thought into it. I want to feel like, at least it's something that's either simple that I know you went and bought. Like it could be a nice watch. I'll never forget Carson Palmer. My first ever quarterback gift, he got me a Breitling watch. To this day, ooh. I only wear Breitling watches. It's the only watch I have. If I'm going to buy a watch, I get a Breitling watch. I'd never had a nice watch before.
Cars was big money too, though. He was big
Cars was big money. He was, but he bought me a watch. Andy Dalton, nice. I'll never forget how mad guys were. 1 year, he got us Mophie chargers and like an 8-gig iPad. And I mean, when you want to talk about some
spoiled,
you want to talk about some offensive linemen getting pissed off. I mean. Did I get a Mophie charger for Christmas? Like, guys were not happy.
There was a lot of storage back then.
8 gigs. He did 1 year give us travel vouchers. Those were nice. Jared Goff's probably the best gift giver I've had. Stafford keeps it simple. Nice watch. I like it. Sentimental. Nice. Just sets it there. A little note.
Again, all big money guys.
I understand. I'm not criticizing. Like I said, Carissa Thompson actually changed my mind on this. We had a good talk about it the other night because I saw Brock's thing. I was all hot and bothered. And I was like, I don't want it to be free. Mm-hmm. If the quarterback got it free, I don't want it as a gift. But then I kind of changed my mind. And I said, all right, if it's them using their name and their position to get you something really freaking cool, like in this situation, if those trucks are theirs, you know what? Okay, I get it. But the content part of it and it being a commercial and it's really kind of you getting all the praise for how cool of a gift you got somebody when really it's free. I don't know if I'm quite on board with that part of it. But I'm softening my stance.
Okay.
But,
I don't think you would have liked my gifts, by the way.
Hey, get your ass up to 8 yards, 7.5 yards in the pocket. That's all I freaking care about. All right. Other than that, keep your gift.
I wasn't trying to take any sacks. I promise you. But
listen, I don't think I'd have liked your gifts either, because they'd have probably been something really weird and quirky, or like a bad picture of me.
Let me tell you what it was, because they were weird and quirky. But the benefit of being on a different team every year is you can get your offensive lineman the same gift every year. I do want to apologize to Andy Levitri. We played together in Buffalo, 2012. I started getting this particular gift. 2013, we both ended up on the Titans, and I had to get him the same gift. But weird, quirky, sure, but practical. I want you to be able to use my gift, Andrew. And so I started getting guys Yeti coolers with my face printed on the top.
I like that.
I want you to remember me. I want you, the relationship and the bond we had. And I'll tell you what, to this day, I've probably given, let's say, 150 of those coolers out, because I started giving them to equipment guys, started giving them to the training staff. The amount of Friday and Saturday night having a party at my house and having videos of people sitting on my face, and people snickering in the background, those videos that I get, it's the gift that keeps giving.
I love that. See, maybe Andy Dalton should put his face on the Mophie charger or the iPad. And now we would have been, Andy, I got you, bro. I figured it out.
Yeah, but now it won't even fit the same. The input won't be the same. And,
you can't even use the damn thing now.
That's a great idea, the Mophie charger. I'm going to think about getting that for Liza for Christmas. That's a good idea.
Speaking of unique gifts, did you see Joe Burrow's gifts?
I did. Super cool.
Talk to me about that. What do you think?
So these were the
swords,
katana swords, right?
Katana swords,
the authentic Japanese swords. So there you go. There's thought put into it.
Yep.
It's obviously a guy that's got $1 gazillion because he's buying the Batmobile for millions of dollars. So I'm sure these swords were not inexpensive. And there's each one has its own unique story. It's something they'll never forget. You're going to have it hanging in your office for the rest of your life. And it represents the battles that they were in together. He put thought into it. He customized them for the guys. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea. And I think you let them all kind of go in there and choose and all that stuff like that. That to me is some thought behind it. And I think that's the main thing we're getting at. Regardless if it's free, regardless what it is, you put some thought into it. And it wasn't something where you said, hey, call so-and-so and just send these guys something, or get us a deal with somebody and send them something.
Well, hold on. So what about, Andy Dalton, you guys gave me juice all year, so I wanted to repay the favor and get you a Mophie juice pack. I don't
miss me with that, Fitz. Just miss me. I'm not the one. Not today. Okay, I'm already in the mood. But I will say this. Did you see Matt Lee from the Bengals? This is my favorite. He said, when I'm 45, hold on, we're going to have to go to grievances. First, he references 45 like it's old as shit. Matt Lee, can you pick 55 or something? I'm 43 now. I got to pick a bone with that.
You're getting up
there.
But
when I'm 45 and someone asks me, what's the story about that? It'll end with, well, and Joe Burrow gave it to me. And that probably is the coolest part.
That's awesome.
So, hey, I agree with you, Matt Lee. At the end of the day, it's going to be, hey, it doesn't matter what Andy Dalton got me. It's pretty cool. Andy Dalton got me a gift, and I played with Andy Dalton. Pretty cool. I played with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff and Carson Palmer and all these guys.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, you didn't get me a gift, though, asshole.
I was young and, backup. We let Carson still pay for the gifts.
It's interesting. It almost sounded like you made an excuse. So...
Wait, so are you done with grievances, or do you have any more grievances?
I do actually have one more.
This is going to be our longest segment of the year. Okay, what's that?
Maintain consistency in the holidays. Fitz, I'm over it, man. Can there be one more thing that I have to eat food at, or have a drink?
Oh my God.
Or just our travel schedule. Everybody's got to have a freaking holiday party.
The cookies.
My
daughters are making stuff right now.
Literally,
it's so good.
Every kid's got to bake something. Can we all what is the deal? I'm trying to not be 400 pounds again. I've gone the wrong direction in the month of December. I'm not happy about it. We got to get going. All right. But here's the good news. One more week. Christmas is over. New Year's. We'll get through that. We got our playoff game, and it's the off season. It's time for me to grind, get svelte again. But right now it's been a challenge.
I need you to be my accountability partner as soon as the off season hits.
I was going to say, it's hard to be accountable for you when you ate 69 wings.
They were so good.
Dude, you ordered 3 different platters of fried wings.
You know what though? Well, I like to eat with other people as well, so I ordered them for the table. It's just a matter of there were only a few people that had one or two, and then I ended up eating the rest. I didn't want to be rude. I wasn't going to leave them sitting there. But I was thinking about this too, about your consistency and the holidays and how tough it is with all the sweets and cookies and the drinking. What if you had to go to the doctor right now and the doctor gave you one of those things and said, how many drinks have you had in the last week? My brother just got into town. We had a bottle of wine the other night. Then you watch football all day Sunday. I probably had 5 or 6 Guinness. Then there's a holiday party the next night, and it just adds up. We're going to see each other on Wednesday, then the game Thursday, where you have some drinks after. It would not look very good right now if I had to write down. I've had 72 drinks in the last week, but it's the holiday season, Whit. I get it. It's just a blip in the radar.
It was good. It was a good weekend, though. I mean, Thursday Night Football was good. Justin Herbert, you talked so much trash about him. You're such a hater.
I did. I like
He came through, though, baby. He came through last week.
Okay, hold on. Here's what I'll tell you about Justin Herbert. Look, I did my presentation before the show, right? And the biggest thing that I have seen in his numbers that he can control after 4 seconds of holding the ball, he hasn't been very good. And there are people that can blame that on his ankle or blame it on whatever they want to blame it on, the players he's playing with, the scheme. But the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, those 4 guys that we talked about, Lamar, Burrow, Josh, and Patrick Mahomes, like that's where they get busy. That's where they overcome the situations around them. And look, I'm rooting for Justin Herbert to get up there because if there are great quarterbacks, it makes everything better. In the second half, what did he do? He elevated his team. On that very first drive, he had 2 scrambles where he got outside of the pocket and took off. He had 2 scrambles where he got outside the pocket and made plays. The second one being that amazing touchdown pass when he was rolling to his left. That's the Justin Herbert that we haven't really seen this year that we saw in the second half. He led his team to victory. And so he made plays even when they weren't there.
Maybe you actually inspired this effort out of Justin Herbert, and now he's going to take the next level step. I mean, this might be
it's
Chargers fans might need to rethink this.
It really has, because if you look at 2.5 to 4 seconds, when you play within the pocket, when you play within the scheme and the plays that are given to you, he's been elite this year.
Yeah,
we sat there and we're marveling at all his throws. Whit. I mean, this dude, he's 6'6".
Yeah, I was about to say, not to mention he's my size.
He's created in a lab, and I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. He's obviously a bright dude. But it was nice to see. And Chargers fans can't say, oh, yeah, that was good to see. It was, well, you've never watched him play before, and he's the best quarterback ever. And look, he is a great quarterback. He's done things nobody has done in their first 5 seasons in NFL history, but he's not on Mount Rushmore yet.
I've always said it looks like he throws a baseball. Like when he throws a football, it looks like he's like a outfielder throwing a baseball. Like he just freaking throws it on a freaking line.
It's insane.
So last week it was good. You had a ton of wings. This week we got the Seahawks and the Bears in Chicago. Probably going to be cold. I love Chicago, one of my favorite cities. I'm excited about it. Unfortunately, I don't think with us flying there on Christmas Day and then the game being the next day and we usually take off, I don't think I'm going to get back to Wiener Circle to see Poochie. I'm a little sad about that. Poochie.
Oh, you love Wiener
Shout
Circle.
out Poochie.
You were there with Kels, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you can grab a milkshake when you go there, it's always a great experience. But I know what I am going to get because Taylor Rooks has already promised me that we will have this post-game, Fitz. And I am definitely I'm not excited about watching Caleb Williams take sacks, but I am excited about some Harold's chicken because that was maybe the best thing I've had on the road food-wise in our 3 years together.
Yeah, I'm on a diet, so I won't be eating anything
bullshit.
On there.
You're not on a diet. Harold's chicken was bomb. That was really good.
Well, I'm excited too, though, because we haven't had a trip recently where we're in the city where we're able to just get up and walk around. I know it might be a little bit chilly, but even Thursday, getting to walk around the city a little bit will be fun.
Yeah, and if anybody in Chicago has a couple places that we need to go check out while we're there,
hit us up, please.
Please hit us and let us know. We love to go check out your favorites. Sarah Barra is coming with me. First time ever. The boys have been to Thursday night football games.
Yeah.
I got a talking to the other day, speaking of Aaron Grievances, and my Drew's twin, Sarah, my daughter, 13-year-old. She was like, Dad, why do girls not get to go on the Thursday Night Football trip? And I was like, ooh,
It's a great point, Sarah.
I don't have a great answer. So you're in. So Sarah Barra is going to Thursday Night Football. Let's go.
That's awesome. I had to sit down Lucy. Lucy is my 13-year-old while I was still playing because the boys always got to come in the locker room after the game. And she was upset she didn't get to come down into the locker room. So I had to very politely explain what was going on in there and why she couldn't. But she would come to some of the press conferences and stuff with me. But I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing Sarah. And I hope that she gets to sing for us because, oh my gosh, you want to talk about the voice of an angel.
Woo! Breaks my heart every time.
Yeah, make a dad cry.
Well, that does it, Fitz. This episode of Fitz and Whit is done, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original. Subscribe on YouTube, follow wherever you get your podcasts, like and comment, and follow us on socials. We will see you next week.
Peace.